I'm Lirien, 29, and I forged this aerie, my cliffside refuge in storm-swept Valespar, won through 6 years of grinding at Quildrake Ledgers and $500,000 from my grandmother Vera, who called me her unyielding star before she faded 2 years ago. I thought I'd outrun my past, a father, Torveth, who buried me under my half-sister Zinara's shadow, her sneers like, "You'll always be less," still echoing from childhood. Then he struck, demanded I surrender my haven to her, claiming she deserved it. When I refused, he twisted Vera's bequest, a legal trap to rip it away. Zinara gloated, "It's mine now." But I found Vera's scrawled testament in a herb tin, my shield against their greed. This is my stand, a tale of betrayal, unearthed truths, and a fire they can't quench. Join me on this ledge. Hear my fight unfold. I perch in my aerie, a hollow gouged into Valespar's storm-lashed cliffs where dusk bleeds amber across the pitted stone walls. My fingers curl around the iron keys, jagged teeth worn smooth by 6 years of clawing at Quildrake Ledgers, where I pored over ledgers until dawn, stacking $250,000 in savings coin by coin. Vera's $500,000 bequest sealed it. Her gift 2 years after her breath left her, buying this windswept aerie that crowns the cliff's edge at a steep $750,000. No debts shackle me, only my grit and her faith forged this refuge. I taste her Cragmere hovel in the air, peat smoke twisting up, clove tea simmering as she croaked, "You're my unyielding star, Lirien." Her hands stuffing notes, recipes, ramblings into jars with a wink that they'd light my path someday. That promise hums in my bones, her voice a lantern against the salt wind shrieking through these walls, the seas roar, clawing up from below like a beast pacing its cage. I earned every scar on these keys, nights shivering over ink, shrugging off scribes' jibes about my patched cloak, building a life above the past that tried to drown me. My phone shatters the stillness, its buzz a knife through the dusk. Torveth's name flares on the screen. My father. His voice a rasp of flint when he barks for me to meet him at a tavern in Valespar's grimy gut. I freeze. My pulse hammers, old scars splitting open. He's never called without a hook. Last time, 3 years back, he'd sneered I'd amount to nothing, his eyes already on Zinara's gilded wants. I could refuse. This aerie's my fortress, its stones unyielding as my will. But his tone snags me, sharp with something new, a hunger I can't place, tugging at the child in me who once begged for his glance before she learned to stand alone. My mother's ghost flickers, gone at 9, leaving me to his frost and Isolde's venom, yet here I am whispering fine into the gale, not for him, but to face whatever trap he's baiting. I shove the phone down, my boots scrape the floor, the keys bite my palm, and I glare out at the bruised sky, purple welts streaking over a sea like broken glass. This is mine, a throne I carved from nothing, and no call from Torveth will shake it. I'll meet him, not as his shadow, but as the star Vera saw, ready to burn through his game. I rise with Valespar's pulse, a shudder rippling through the cliffs as dawn fractures the sky, casting veins of firelight across my aerie's walls, rough slabs softened by tapestries I've woven from dyed wool, their blues and golds shimmering like caught waves. My days beat steady, mornings swallowed by Quildrake Ledgers, where I wrestle columns of figures onto vellum that reeks of old ink and tallow, my quill a restless dancer carving order from chaos. I've hewn this existence from raw will. Every scrap I saved, every night I traded sleep for this roost above the sea's gnashing jaws, its spray flecking my ledge with salt. Evenings, I kneel by my loom. The clack of shuttle and thread spins my haven tighter, a nest atop a town that sprawls below, crooked roofs glinting with fish-scale tiles, chimneys puffing ash into the wind. On Sabbaths, I linger at my perch. Gusts snatch at my cloak, The ocean unfurls its endless growl, and I watch gulls wheel against a horizon that drinks the sun dry, a sight that mirrors my own unbent spine. Yet a splinter lodges deep, Torveth and Isolde, their echoes gnawing at me from a past I can't outrun. I was 9 when my mother withered, her breath a fading wisp as she pressed my hand, then gone. By 11, Zinara claimed their world, her wails drowning mine as Isolde cooed over silks, and Torveth let my carved hawk gather dust, his silence a heavier blow than any word. That wound breathes now, a dull throb as I stride Quildrake's dim halls, where a scribe, his fingers black with ink, leans close. "Still playing Queen in the Clouds, Lirien? Must be lonely up there." His grin twists, a jab I meet with a sharp smile, my voice low. "Better lonely than groveling below." My pulse steadies. This aerie is my rampart, forged against a family who'd see me crumble. I sweep my work aside and climb the coiled path home. Shale crunches underfoot, the wind lashes my face like a taunt, and I crest my threshold. The sea's bellow floods my ears, its brine a fierce kiss on my lips. I stand tall. This is my ground, my breath, my claim. No one's scorn will claw it loose. I cross the tavern's threshold, a sunken den in Valespar's shadowed gut, where the air chokes with stale ale and the tang of charred fish, its beams blackened by a hearth that snaps like a chained hound. Torveth looms at a table. His shoulders sag under a frayed cloak, but his stare cuts through the gloom, flint sharp, unyielding as I settle across from him. My chest tightens, a snare of nerves cinching as his mug grinds the table, a rasp that claws at the sailor's low drone around us. We toss out hollow words, the winds bite, the tides pull, chaff that scatters before his real blow lands. He leans in, his breath a sour gust. Zinara's sinking, debts choking her, no road left. I stiffen. My heart lurches, but he barrels on. "Your aerie could haul her up. You're set, she's not." The words slam me. 6 years of Quildrake's grind, $250,000 I scraped raw, Veyra's $500,000 woven into my perch, and he'd pitch it to Zinara? My vision swims. The room's murk twists as fury flares, my haven, my defiance, dangled as her lifeline. He growls on, her studies tossed, coins bled on baubles, Isolde's whispers that I owe them for rising while Zinara flops. I see her, 16, twirling that gilded flute, her sneer a lash. "You'll never shine," as I nursed calluses in the dark. Torveth's voice dips. "It'd save her from ruin." But a flicker slithers in his tone. Some kin burden, tied to debts bigger than he'll admit, a noose I feel tightening. My fingers lock around my mug. Clay burns hot against my skin, but a cold rage surges, a tide crashing through my veins. This isn't a request. It's theft, a fist aimed at my roots. I glare at the hearth. Its flames writhe, spitting cinders that echo the blaze in my chest, a roar I can't choke down. My jaw unlocks. "You'd strip my blood and bones for her?" I hiss, my voice a honed edge slicing the air. His eyes narrow, a twitch of scorn? Or shame? Ripples across his face, but I'm past caring. I shove my mug forward, ale surges over the brim, staining the wood like spilled ink. And I stand. My boots strike the floor, my words land hard. "That aerie's mine. She gets nothing." I turn. The tavern's reek fades as I burst out. Salt wind slams my face, a fierce slap that fuels my stride, my vow ringing clear. I won't yield an inch. I stumble from the tavern. Salt wind slices my cheeks like a blade pulled from the sea's depths, its bite gnawing at the edges of Torveth's demand. My aerie, Zinara's rescue, my ruin. My boots hammer the uneven stones. Each thud rattles my frame as Veilspar's underbelly blurs past, its lanterns swaying like lanterns on a sinking ship, their light snuffed by the cliff's jagged shadow. Rage boils in my chest, a molten coil I can't choke down, bursting free as I claw up my aerie's twisting path. I forged this. 6 years, Vera's 500,000, not theirs. My shout fractures in the storm. A jagged oath as shale snaps under my heels like brittle promises. Torveth's rasp dogs me. She deserves it, he'd snarled, his words sharpened by Isolde's sting. Her message flares on my phone as I breach my door. Don't hoard it, Lirien. My keys gouge my palm. A sting of blood beads as I shove inside. My tapestries ripple like trapped birds, their hues dulled by this treachery's weight. I slump against the stone. My breath rasps, and memory stabs. Zanara's lies pinning me at 14, Isolde's smirk as I scrubbed, her flute trilling at 18 while I bartered for scraps, Torveth blind to both. Now they'd claim my perch, my defiance, my blood. My hands claw my scalp. Anger scalds my veins as his family ties loops, a noose he'd knot around my neck. Isolde's "you owe us" fuels the blaze, a fire that roars until my ribs ache. I spring up. The sea's roar floods my ears, a fierce chorus that buries their echoes, and I spit. They'll salvage nothing from me, my voice a whip cracking the air, a vow that roots me as I stalk to my loom. Its threads glint, a web I've spun, unyielding, and I swear, no one will tear it down. My phone jolts. Torveth's name pulses, his growl chasing me from the tavern's door. You'll regret this! I slam it down. The crack of glass splits the silence, my hands steady with a fury I'll wield like steel. I face the sea. Its waves batter the rocks. A relentless pulse I'll match. I'll shred their chains before they bind me. I jolt awake. A stillness smothers my aerie, the cliffs of Veilspar cloaked in a hush that creeps like fog, the sea below muted as if strangled by unseen hands. My loom looms silent, its threads shimmer like frost-kissed roots in the frail dawn, but my fingers stall. A shiver clings from Torveth's last snarl, his venom festering in my mind. I stalk my perch. The tapestries quiver like sails on a dead wind, their colors bleeding into the haze as days meld since that tavern brawl. His demand, Isolde's venom, my refusal a spark in their storm. Then it strikes. A shadow wedges under my door, a wax-sealed writ that slaps the stone. Its corners twist like a vulture's beak. My heart slams. I snatch it up, and the script sears my sight, a claim on my aerie, a crack in the cliff deed, a legal net to snatch it away. My legs falter. I brace the wall as the letters blur. Torveth's claws, raking Vera's $500,000 bequest, claiming Zanara's right to half, my $250,000, my 6 years, my refuge, all meet for his trap. I picture him, hunched in some dank hole, his breath sour with rot gut as he schemes with a petty scribe, rabid to rip what's mine. My lungs seize. The room spins as Zanara's hiss from last year coils back. I'll have it all, she'd sneered, her eyes glinting like a thief's in the dark, a threat I'd laughed off until now. I fling the writ down. It skids across the floor, a poisoned barb I can't unfeel, and my phone shrills. Kezra's voice slices in, steady but grim. It's thin. A scribe's blunder, but he's betting on delay. Months, maybe more, to bleed you dry. My throat knots. Months of limbo, my aerie swaying on a knife's edge while Torveth grins. I clutch Vera's ring. Its bone curve warms my fist, and I rasp. They won't break me. My voice a jagged shard piercing the stillness, a pledge that steadies my pulse. I whirl to my ledge. The sea churns awake, its growl a rising drumbeat, and I recall Vera's trunk, her jars and notes a lifeline I'll chase when the hour demands. My knees lock. The writ's shadow looms like a gallows, but I clench my jaw. This is my ground, not their plunder. I face the dawn. Its light splits the waves, a fractured gleam that steals my spine. I'll tear this net apart, thread by thread. I crouch at a cliffside alehouse, its timbers groan under the sea's restless pulse as I sift through Kezra's scrolls, their edges brittle as shed scales under my trembling hands, a tether to snatch my aerie from Torveth's jaws. My vision blurs. Sleepless nights have etched furrows beneath my eyes, the writ's curse a specter gnawing my thoughts since it breached my door, a legal chokehold I've battled with every ragged breath. Kezra sits opposite. Her stare pierces like a hawk's, and she nudges a tin forward, one I'd hauled from Vera's trunk days ago, its clasp clinking as it spills her trace, clove and earth, unveiling a crumpled note, her testament, etched in her faltering script, to Lirien, my $500,000 for her fire and truth. My chest surges. I seize the paper, its ink a fragile vein threading through time, a bulwark Vera carved in her waning hours. My claim, not Zenara's prize. I see her, hunched by her Cragmere fire, her fingers sealing this shield in a herb tin, foreseeing the day I'd fend off scavengers. Kezra smirks. It's unbreakable. He's dust. Her words a chisel shattering the writ's frail scaffold. I stand. My boots grind the planks as I tuck the testament close. Its heft anchors my racing pulse, a flare to torch Torveth's deceit. I march to Duskwind Hollow. Their warped hold squats in a tangle of thorns, its shingles peeling like flayed skin, and I kick the door open. A gust of musty decay hits me as Zenara lounges on a tattered mat, her lips curling. You'll lose it yet. Torveth staggers upright. His eyes blaze like dying coals. You've forged that lie, he roars, his voice a frayed bellow as Isolde skitters near. Her wail cuts the air. You've stabbed your kin! I slam the testament down. Vera's will, mine, not yours. My voice booms, a gale sweeping their ruin as the note lies stark, its creases worn but iron, a sword to cleave their grasp. Torveth lunges, his fist grazes the table. I'll burn it first. But his rage falters. Kezra's move will crush him by dawn. Isolde clutches her chest. You're no blood of ours, her sob a brittle shard, while Zenara hisses, I'll claw it back. Her threat a fading snarl as I pivot. My steps pound the earth, their stunned hush a louder knell than their cries. I ascend to my aerie. The sea's thunder salutes me like a warrior's horn, and I grip the testament. Its power washes the scars clean, a gift Vera wove to crown my fight. I step to my ledge. The dusk blazes across the waves, a fiery tapestry that mirrors my triumph. I've claimed my soul, not just my stone. I dwell in my aerie. Its stones shimmer with saffron veins, a shade Vera cherished, streaked across the walls like embers kissing twilight over Valespar's cliffs, a testament to my hold, my rebirth. My hours flow calm. I bend over my loom, threads leaping like sparks through my palms, and I welcome scribes with their ink-stained quills and wanderers trailing tales of distant trails. Their chatter weaves with the sea's endless refrain, threading this roost with a glow I've kindled from embers. I've snapped the cords. Torveth, Isolde, Zenara, fade beyond my grasp, their cries a dying murmur I've brushed aside. A last plea from Torveth flutters into my hands, his scrawl begging kinship in faltering lines, but I cast it to my hearth. Flames devour it, peeling it to ash like a snake's shed husk, a ritual that locks their banishment. My boots scrape the boards. I stride to my ledge, where the breeze thrums with salt and release, and I shed their ghosts. Zenara's barbs, Isolde's bile, Torveth's grip, all grit beneath my heels now. I've planted myself here. My chambers pulse with the hum of chosen voices, not bound by blood, but by bonds I've shaped, their stories a weave brighter than any silk. My fingers trace a cup, Tea unfurls its steam, a sharp tang of mint lifting from the clay, and I drink. Its heat floods my core, a quiet nod to Vera's trust that bore me through. I've cast off their yoke. No echoes scrape my mind, no fetters bruise my spirit. Only the sea's anthem swells, a boundless surge that echoes my unshackled soul. I lean into my lookout. Dusk spins gold across the tides, a luminous shroud draping the edge of the world, and I inhale. The brine bites my lips, crisp as victory, a flavor carved from every wound I've borne. My smile blooms, a curve unfurls, not carved, but bloomed, and I whisper, "This is mine," my voice a gentle swell against the current, not merely these walls, but the self I've seized. I've grasped the truth. Kinship blooms in hearths we stoke, not chains we're forced to bear. I fought for my light, and it blazes, a flame no gale can quench. I turn inward. The hearth snaps, the loom's shuttle hums, voices rise, and my aerie sings, a sanctuary sculpted by my will, a life I'll guard forever. I've forged my aerie atop these cliffs, a trek from a shadowed past to a dawn I seized through grit and Vera's unwavering trust. My tale bears this. Strength isn't bowing to forced bonds, but crafting a life with those who fan your flame. Kinship is a hearth you tend, not a chain you owe. I torched Torveth's last plea, hushed Zanara's jabs, and turned my roost into a haven alive with voices I've chosen. What of you? What fight has honed your spirit? Has a guiding hand, like Vera's for me, lit your way? Share your spark with me. Spill your battles, your anchors, your winds below. Let's knot our stories together. I'll return with fresh winds from Veilspar's rugged shores, where waves clash and stars flare. Until then, hold your light high. See you soon.